What's up, everybody? For those of you who don't know me, my name is LeRoy Garrett. I am a former cast member on MTV's The Challenge. And there's something that's been weighing on my mind for a long time, on my conscience, about my time spent on The Challenge for my 12 seasons. And I just want to have a moment of truth. And I want to basically explain to you guys, why I retired from MTV and why I stopped doing The Challenge. I get a lot of questions day to day, whether it's in my barber studio or whether it's on Instagram or whether it's on Twitter, of why I decided to leave, prematurely. A lot of people say, man, you got a lot left in you, and are you retiring because you're tired of losing or whatever the case may be? And actually, that's actually far from it. There was something that happened to me while filming several years ago that has been weighing heavy on my conscience for a long time. And I just never forgiven myself for it. And I've always wanted to speak about it, but I was always afraid to. And now that, I've decided to step away from the show, I felt as if this would be a good time to actually talk about what happened. For years, I've been beating myself up with guilt over how I reacted and things I could have done differently. And finally now I've mustered up the strength to talk about it and finally be able to forgive myself. So let's just get right into it. For those of you who are, avid challenge watchers, I know you guys remember the season Dirty 30 that we filmed in Colombia. I think this was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And there was an episode on Dirty 30, episode 9 to be exact, and the name of it was called Rampage. That was the name of the actual episode. And it basically was called Rampage because there was an instance where another former cast member, her name is Camilla, where she made racist comments towards me and was violent towards me. And MTV didn't do anything about it to help me or protect me at that point in time. And for the longest, I wanted to quit the show. For the longest, I wanted just to retire. For the longest, I wanted to speak up and say something. But in all honesty, a lot of me was afraid. A part of me stayed with the franchise because of money, and I was just lost. I was just, and as I watched back that actual episode, and I think back to that time, this LeRoy now wouldn't have put up with that, but that LeRoy then did. And I needed to get this off my chest because I want to tell LeRoy back then that I forgive you for the way that you handled it, because I felt like I was alone and I had nobody, so I just did what I had to do to survive. And I was thinking about, making money more than I was thinking about my integrity or standing up for black people, because we've been going through a lot since then up until now. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to actually watch the episode right here on my laptop, and I'm basically going to narrate everything that happened to basically explain to you how everything went down. So just bear with me, and as I put this together, you guys can actually go back, because the episode is on YouTube and it's on Paramount Plus, where you can watch the episode. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So without further ado, here we go. So at the beginning of this episode, I'm in the room and I'm speaking about who's gonna take what girl out in the elimination. I say her, and the camera pans over to Camilla, who she's standing inside. She's standing in the doorway of the sliding door. She's looking, so she's basically kind of eavesdropping. You can see in her face that she's pretty intoxicated, and she's screaming out like, "Who are you talking about?" And I'm kind of confused because I'm wondering, like, what is she talking about, and why is she in my room right now? So she comes in and says, like, "Hey, who you're talking about?" And I'm basically telling her, like, "Hey, Camilla, you need to just kind of relax, and I wasn't talking to you, and just kind of leave." At this point, I can tell that Camilla is probably going to go off, but I'm trying to do everything I can to kind of diffuse the situation. So at one point in the video, I tell Camilla that she's drunk, because obviously she's drunk. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I need some help right now. So I asked Bananas, I said, "Can you tell me what she's talking about?" And as I'm watching this, and I'm watching myself, I could tell that I was looking for some type of backup, but nobody really knew what to do or say. And I just knew, like, man, this isn't gonna end well. So Camilla cursing me out. She's telling me that I'm an idiot. I'm explaining to her that I feel bad for her because I do. I've watched Camilla for seasons go off on people, be drunk, go on rants, and I'm thinking like, damn, man, I really, truly do feel bad for this girl because she really has a problem. And it wasn't to like antagonize her to make her mad. I wanted to let her know how I felt. Like at that point, I'm telling her how I feel. I really feel bad for you. Wow. And at this point, she's talking about how many wins I have. You know, you never won before, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, whatever. And then she's like, you know what? You're a black. Wow. In my mind, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Someone that I work with is talking to me like this on camera, even though you're drunk. Like why does the color of my skin come out of your mouth? Like, why is that what you see when you talk to me, right? Whenever I see people and I argue with them, if I'm arguing with someone from another race, the last thing I'm going to call out is the color of their skin. So right there, I knew that this wasn't going to be good at all. In the video, I tell Camilla that she's going to be in tears for the way she spoke to me because I just knew it. It always happens, you know. People say certain things. They're so hype about it. They're feeling so much. F you, you black mother effer. This has happened to me so many times. And then the next day, or they're in tears about what happened. This isn't the first time that someone has said something about the color of my skin. I've had one of my closest friends, girlfriend, call me in my face. Like, just really go off on me. And then, you know, the tears come the next day. And I hate that. I hate when that happens. The tears come and you're sorry. You're not sorry. Sober, you're not sorry. Drunken thoughts and verbiage is a sober heart. I'm sorry. And as Camilla is singling me out for being black and the color of my skin, it's not as if I don't already feel singled out because of the fact that I'm in a room filled with white cast members, that they're all just staring at me in the middle of this room and no one is saying anything. I feel embarrassed. I'm shocked. I'm upset. And I'm thinking to myself, like, can someone that's in a position of power please come in and help me? Like, I'm literally being attacked right now in front of everybody who I work with, and no one is doing anything to help. And not even necessarily the cast members, because they're just as in shock too, but producers or security at this point. Like, once those words came out of her mouth about the color of my skin, and you could tell that she was coming out of a place of hate, that someone should have stepped in. That's so unacceptable. And the fact that no one didn't, I feel like MTV, you dropped the ball. So the next part of this video is where I see Johnny Bananas, who's a dear friend of mine, who I love to death. As Camilla's about to exit the room after her racist rant, he throws a pillow at her. I was just so angry that she would talk to me that way. Camilla's someone who's actually stayed at my house before in Las Vegas. You know, there was a time she was passing through coming from Nebraska, and she stayed at my house as like a lot of cast members do when they come to the city. And so to notice somebody who I've let stay at my house and spend some time with would talk to me that way, I just was like, it was unreal. So to see Johnny do that and hit her with that pillow, part of me was definitely happy, but I knew that, you know, now it's probably gonna turn it up even more. So, as I watched the video also, when Camilla gets hit with the pillow, she turns around and she's asking who hit her with the pillow. She immediately picks the pillow up and she violently throws the pillow at me, violently hits me with the pillow. Excuse me. That right there is enough. That right there should be enough for her to get sent home. As if like what she said to me wasn't bad enough. Now you have assaulted me. So let's continue to keep watching. And as I watch myself as security's exiting her out, there's me doing my interview and I'm saying that I'm arguing with the person who has the power to throw me in. LeRoy, why are you thinking about the game right now? Like, why do you care that she has the power to throw you in? You should be saying, this girl needs to get out of here, she needs to get sent home. But I'm so terrified to really speak how I want to that I gotta basically kind of like tiptoe around it. And I feel like it shows. It really shows that I was lost back then. Like, I literally was thinking about money more than I was thinking about what's right and morals and everything that black people has been through. And as I watch this, I'm disappointed in myself, but a lot of me, I think that I probably didn't know any better. And as I watch this, I like to say, LeRoy, I forgive you. I forgive you for not standing up for yourself and really taking a stand on what's right. I forgive you, my brother. I know you were going through a lot back then and you didn't know where to go, but this LeRoy today, I forgive you. Now at this point, as I'm watching the video, Camilla has exited the room. She's down by the stairs. She said it's all about black like LeRoy, or whatever the case she said. You guys will see in the video. And this is all coming from hatred. You don't just say things like that. Like, that is like deep rooted. And I didn't even see that until I watched it on tape when the show came out, and I was just mind blown. Like, this girl really is really out of control. Now she's downstairs. She's picking up weights, and she's cursing, and she's coming up towards me. She wants to come up the stairs. She's cursing. So at that point, you could tell that she's being very violent. Who knows what she was going to do with those weights? You could tell that she's out of control, but they're just kind of like letting it happen. Like, security stepping in, but it's just like she should have already been exited out, whether she had shoes on or not. Like, where is the protection, right? Where is the protection? First of all, she should have already been escorted out of there once she started talking about the color of my skin, once she hit me with the pillow. Like, people are moving slow. Like, I don't really understand what's going on or why this is happening, but, you know, this is the world that we live in, people. This is the stuff that blacks have to deal with every day. And while I'm filming this, I'm just thinking to myself, you know what, Lee, it's all good. You handled it the right way. Because if I was to start yelling at her or cursing at her or anything of that nature, the 6'1", 200-pound black man, now I'm gonna be the angry black man. That's what we always get whenever we express our feelings. You know, they say we're aggressive. Well, I handled myself extremely well right there. I was very calm. I didn't say anything to provoke or have her try to come at me even more. And I just know that if I were to start cursing at her, everything would have got flipped. And that's not fair. Why do blacks always have to, you know, take the high road or turn the other cheek? You know, why couldn't I sit up there and say, hey, you're going to be going home tonight? But I felt as if I didn't have to. I felt like, you know what, Lee, you did what you had to do. And the network, they're going to see this and they're going to say, they're not standing for this. Because you know why? Every time I get a call from MTV, they're always like, oh my God, LeRoy, we love you. And we can't wait for you to come back and film. You're such a joy to work with. So I'm thinking like, yeah, she's out of there. I'm not worried about anything. But let's see what happens. Cast members are in their interviews and they're supporting me, saying that they think that Camilla's rude and she's a nasty person. And you could just see it. I mean, this has been this girl for the past 8-9 years of her doing this. So she goes upstairs, she starts breaking and destroying stuff, which is also showing very violent behavior, cursing out security, and it's just belligerent. And that's one thing that I hate. And as I was telling Carl Maria, I was saying I'm not going to talk to her, and I didn't talk to her for the rest of the season, you guys. But you can't get drunk and then say you don't remember and you blacked out. That's not going to work anymore. We're not taking that no more. If you said something racist and you forgot about it, or you were blacked out, you don't remember, it's already in your heart. So it was either going to come out. And for me, I think to myself, while I was in that moment, and I'm the only black person in the room, and all these white folks are around me, and I'm saying to myself, is this what you want to say to me when you get mad? When you really get angry? Is that how you really feel? That, you know, when everything is cool, when Lee is cool, everything is fine and dandy. But as soon as you're angry with Lee, you really want to try to hit me below the belt and say things about the color of my skin and make racial slurs. And it just isn't right. It's not right. in a work environment is not right in any environment. I want to give a huge shout out to Jimmy, because the things that she was saying, the way she stood up, she said Camilla was so disrespectful. Black men have to go through enough in society, and she doesn't have time for anybody who's racist. Goodbye, girl. Jimmy, when I look into this camera, and I want to tell you this from the bottom of my heart, me watching that and hearing those words come from you meant so much then and even more now. One thing that I do know is that you are a true ally, and we need more out there like you. The first part of being an ally is being able to speak up and cut people off. Also, as I watch this, Brittany, you're another one who stepped up and said something. CT, you're another one who stood up and said something. Bananas, 1000%. The way you articulated your interviews and spoke about everything that happened, I can't thank you guys enough. And Tony as well. I'm sure everybody has something to say in their interviews, and I can't thank you enough. So, as you're watching this, whoever's the higher up at MTV, and you're looking at this footage, wouldn't that tell you to say, wait a minute, like, we gotta get rid of this girl. We have to send her home. That's what I'm thinking as I see this, like, she has to go. But let's keep watching and see what happens. So, it's the next morning as I'm watching here, and Bananas, Cara, and CT, and Jordan are all having a conversation about what went on. And I come inside the room, and once again, it's just me, right? It's just me, big, black dude with, his white coworkers. And they're all like, saying, hey, bravo for what you did last night. And as I'm watching myself in the video, I'm so uncomfortable. But what I try to do is make a joke out of what's going on, because I don't really want to offend the people that are sitting there. But why is that, Lee? Why can't you really speak how you feel? What are you so afraid of? Like, say what's on your mind. You have the floor. And just looking at me back then, I could tell it's kind of like when people laugh at their own pain, you kind of like want to soften the blow. When things happen, black people try to make it seem like it's not that bad and it's okay and we go through this. Yeah, we go through this, but we shouldn't have to. At this very moment, Lee, you had the floor to say, I'm not putting up with this. And I didn't. And for years, this has been weighing on my conscience. For years, it's been weighing on my conscience. Like, damn, Lee, you dropped the ball. You had the time to say something. And I didn't. But I forgive you now. I forgive myself now for that. I forgive myself for being unaware. I forgive myself for being a pushover. I forgive myself for letting things slide. I forgive myself for choosing money. I forgive myself for choosing fear over what is right. I don't know how much time I have left in this life, but from here on out, especially when it comes to racism, I'm 1,000,000,000% gonna stand up and have a voice and be loud about how I feel. That doesn't mean I have to be aggressive. That doesn't mean I have to be violent against somebody, but I'm gonna stand up for what's right. And I feel that anybody that's going through this in the workplace or at home or with family members or friends, step up and say something. Like, don't let money overshadow what's right, because you'll end up like how I've been for the past 5-6 years, beating yourself up over it. And now I want to talk about how I truly feel. And this is just me being honest and being vulnerable. Like, watching this really makes me sick. Parts of it makes me sad. Parts of me is embarrassed of how I was. But I'm no longer going to wear this weight on my shoulders, because a lot of this was out of my control and I should have had some help. So let me continue to keep watching and see if help ever comes. So I'm now sitting in the living room, and Camilla is coming into the house. She has no shoes on. She still has this look on her face. It's not a look like she's been crying. She looks angry. And I'm thinking to myself that she's going to beeline towards me, and she's going to be crying, and she's going to be apologizing about everything that happened last night. And no, she doesn't. She just walks into her room where there's Nelson and Hunter sitting here. And Hunter even has to leave out of the room because he's like, man, this feels so uncomfortable. And Nelson is like, he's out of here. So now we're about to prepare for deliberation. And the scene goes to where I'm in my room, where I share a room with Tony, because Camilla and Tony won the challenge. And still, she didn't come in the room to ask for me. She asked to speak to Tony. And I'm standing right there. You can see me. The same black guy who you were cursing out. It's super obvious. I'm the only black man in the room. And you say nothing to me. And I'm just kind of mind blown. And I make a comment saying to Tony, I'm like, hey, man, hold it down. And, you know, trying to be funny. Another part of me trying to be funny and try to soften the blow to make everybody else in the room feel comfortable with what's going on. I need to be speaking up. At that point, I should have stopped her and said, hey, where you going? But you know what? I'm basically trying to figure out how this is all going to work out. So as she's having this conversation with Tony right now, she's basically asking, hey, what, you know, how this happened last night and, you know, what went on. And now she's saying that, you know, she's sorry for what she did. And the key thing that stuck out in this, Camilla says, I don't know why I'm the way I am. Is it how I was raised? That's exactly why you are the way you are. Because that's exactly how you were raised. That is taught. Racism is a taught behavior. No one comes out of their mother's womb and looks at the color of someone else's skin and say that they don't like that person. That's a learned behavior, whether you learn it from TV, whether you learn it from friends, or whether you learn it from your family. So you already said, Camilla, exactly why you are this way. And you know it. You know exactly why you're that way. But it's funny to hear her say that because she's basically giving you the answer to why she is the way she is. And she's in her interview saying that, you know, she doesn't like... Now, mind you guys, as she's talking to Tony, she's crying. She's sorry. So she says, when she walks into this deliberation room, where we're all sitting in the living room, the look on her face, and I want you guys to go back and really watch it and dissect the episode I am. The look on her face is like someone did something to her. She's angry. And we're all just sitting there and we're quiet. So at this point, I'm like, cool, TJ's about to come in and TJ's gonna bring up what happened last night. Because as you guys know, anytime there's a massive blow up or some type of physical violence or something, TJ, the first order of business, he says, let's talk about what happened last night. So I'm like, cool, she's gonna have this apology, but she's going home, and cool, MTV has my back. Like, you know, I know that no one really did nothing the night before, but at least this is to be the time when she goes home. The look on Camilla's face before TJ comes in, I want you guys to really look at that. She looks so pissed. And TJ walks through the door. Let's see what he says. Wow. TJ says, immediately got the first thing out of his mouth, as you know, Camilla and Tony won the challenge before, so they get to vote. And I'm thinking to myself, I said, what the hell is going on? Like, no one is about to talk about what happened? And I'm just like, imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine everything I went through last night, and TJ comes in and he says nothing about it. Now, I want you guys to understand that TJ is an ally. TJ is somebody who I'm very close with, and him and I have had countless conversation about race in America, things that go on. Like, I genuinely love TJ. He's one of the best humans I've ever met in my life. But you guys must understand that TJ is doing a job and he's only saying what the producers tell him to say. Now, that's the crazy part. I have to step up and say, hey, Camilla, do you have anything to say about your actions last night? She doesn't step up and say anything. I do. Like, imagine how much I'm burning up inside knowing that. Not only am I pissed about what she said, but I'm also pissed that TJ, right? The producers didn't tell TJ to say something. I had to say something. I was the victim last night, and I had to bring up why something happened to me and basically force somebody to apologize. Somebody who wasn't going to do it on their own. Mind-blowing to me. It's just like, you might as well just spit in my face, because this was the worst apology anybody's ever given me. This is the worst apology anybody has ever given me, to the magnitude of the things she said to me yesterday. And everybody in the room, as I'm looking at Johnny's face, is just kind of like, this is just trash. And Johnny's in an interview right now and he's saying there's no excuse for using that type of racial language, Camilla. And the way Johnny stood up and spoke in his interview, that's what I'm talking about. That's how everyone should feel. MTV, that's how you should feel. That's how you should feel about the situation. And clearly you don't. And it's really heartbreaking. and sad, and I've had a lot of time to like gather all of my emotions together. But to know that a network at this point, where I've given at least 7 to 8 years of my life to everything, you guys are basically just recording it. You're not doing anything to help me. Nothing. And yeah, I don't know. And Tony said he thinks that it's great that I brought it up. No, Tony. It would have been great if the producers would have brought it up, right? And this is nothing like to against Tony. I'm just going off of what he said because he's like, it's good that I brought it up or whatever the case may be. But I'm just saying, like, it would have been better if they had to say something, not that I brought it up. I shouldn't have to bring it up. That's the thing. Why do black people always have to be the one who's beating the drum over what happens, right? The producers, the people that are higher up need to bring it up. She is so nasty. She is such a nasty person, and this apology just making me sick looking at it. And anybody watching it should make you sick too. And it's not to bash her, but this is just the reality of the type of person she was. I don't know what she is now, but then she was a very nasty, bitter, angry, disgusting person. And the look on her face with that apology, just kind of like blowing it off, it's like, damn, you just don't get it. And the tears, it's like, miss me, please, please. At this point, I just want to be over it, so I'm like, hey, I accept her apology. So with me saying that I accept her apology, MTV, was that was enough for y'all? Y'all thought that like, okay, she said she was sorry, he said he accepts it, and you guys are like, okay, since he accepts it, then we accept it, because that's not how this should work. I don't know what I was thinking right there. And LeRoy, as I'm watching you, my brother, I don't know what you were thinking. I know that you were scared. I know that you were just like over it. You just wanted to be over. I just wanted it to be over. Like, this is something that has been going on for hours. I wanted just to be over. And as I watched my last interview here, I said, I don't think that Camilla's racist. I don't think that she's prejudiced. My brother, you must be blind, LeRoy. LeRoy, then, if you didn't think this girl was racist. I want you guys to all look up the definition of racist and being prejudiced, and that would definitely be it. So for those who are watching, I wanted to like read out the definition for you, but I want you guys to look at this episode and then go look up the definition of racist and see is everything that happened to me that night considered someone to be racist. I think so. And me saying that, I feel like I don't know why, Lee, like I'm trying to make everyone else feel comfortable about what went on. When I was targeted because of the color of my skin, verbatim, pointed out, singled out, and had violence put on me. Like, I was hit with that pillow violently. And she said she's sorry. I said I accept it. And the show goes on. And that's the end of the episode. So for the rest of the season, the rest of the time I spent there before I was eliminated, I didn't speak to her. I didn't want to have nothing to do with her. And I remember after everything that happened that night, the couple of producers or the next morning, they asked me, and it's really always sticks out with me, they asked me if I wanted to see a therapist. And I say to myself, a therapist? No, I don't want to see a therapist. I've been black my whole life. At that point, I was 30 something, maybe 31 years old. I don't want to see no damn therapist. I want you guys to do something. I want you guys to stand up for me. The same person you call every season and I come running, I want you guys to do something for me. Why are you guys not doing anything? I don't understand. And the fear that I had of speaking up, right? Because you guys have already shown me who you are by not saying nothing. If I would have beat the drum and said, yeah, I'm going home, you guys would have for sure talked me out of it. And everything, you guys were just trying to make everything seem like it was sweet. And that's not a company that loves you. That's not, and some of these producers and higher ups, I've known for years. They see me at my best and at my worst. And right now I'm at a vulnerable state, and all you can do is ask me if I need to see a therapist. And so the season goes on, I go home, Camilla goes home, no apology. Not only is Camilla allowed to stay on the show, but she actually wins the show. Do you know how much that burned me up inside? The fact that this girl went on a whole racist rant and was violent towards me. You guys allow her to stay on the show, which is a privilege. It's a privilege to be on MTV. It's also a privilege for MTV to have us as cast members. So it kind of goes both ways. It's a privilege for me to come on your show. Believe that. It's a privilege to have me. To have someone like LeRoy is definitely a privilege. But you allowed this girl to stay on the show and she won. And she won all the money. So you basically rewarded her for being racist and being violent. That makes no sense. I've seen people get sent home for less. So what is it about her, or what is it about me that made you not care about what happened to me? Because basically that's what you're telling me. And imagine having to go through a whole season, finish out the rest of the season and lose and know that this girl is still there competing for the money when I should have been there, she should have been gone. She wins, and then they have another show called Chef vs. Stars that was filmed the same summer, probably like a month later. They invited her to do Chef vs. Stars. So wait a minute, let's run it back. Racist rant, being violent, keeps her on the show. She wins the show, $450,000. Then you invite her to do Chef vs. Stars. But there, she does the same exact thing. So as I said before, you guys could have stopped this from happening if you'd have stopped her from doing the show years ago, because she was already showing signs of being drunk and belligerent, violent. I'm reminded all the time about what happened to me on Dirty 30. And it's something that I can never get away from. It's something that I've tried to block out of my mind for years. And I feel good being able to express myself. It definitely sucks that the network didn't have my back, and that's something that I just have to live with. Even though a lot of this happened years ago, this is still trauma that I live with today. And speaking about this now actually makes me feel a lot better. But then everything came rushing back once some fans was sending me some DMs and they were like, "Hey, LeRoy, did you know that MTV still follows Camilla on Instagram?" I'm like, what? There's no way that MTV would be following her on Instagram. And in my mind, I'm like, it doesn't matter. And then I'm thinking to myself, that's you, Lee, being a pushover. And it does matter, because when we think of Instagram, the people you follow, you support. So that should have been one of the first things that should have been done. So this happened years ago, and to know that the network is still following her on social media makes me think like everything they've been saying thus far is just a bunch of BS. So then I looked, and the person who sent me this said, "LeRoy, did you also know that MTV doesn't follow you?" And I'm thinking to myself, what? And so as I look, MTV is definitely following Camilla on Instagram still, and MTV isn't following me. Now for myself, I could really care less whether they're following me, but it's just, it really makes me kind of angry, and it also is disheartening to know that still this network is still supporting her and not supporting me. I feel as if the network needs to start holding cast members and anyone that they employ at the network accountable for their actions. If you show any signs of racism, or you say anything that has to do with the color of someone's skin, or any type of discrimination or any type of racist gestures, you should never be allowed to be back on the show again. And you can't kick someone off the show and then try to bring them back in the future, or try to sneak them on when the climate is kind of down and no one's thinking about it. So what I want the network to understand is that all eyes are going to be on you with every move that you make now, because you dropped the ball then, I hope that anyone that has ever made a racist gesture or said a racial slur towards someone is never allowed to do the challenge again. I wouldn't like to see someone come back on the show after doing that. You know, I don't want to see someone have to take a break from the show for a couple seasons, then they're allowed to come back on. I don't think that that's right. So if MTV is trying to move forward and growing and evolving and righting their wrongs and becoming more of an ally, I think that that's a definite no, that you can't bring anybody back who has had that type of past. It's not right, it's not fair, and yeah, I just don't think that this should happen. So I'm going to be paying very close attention to the people that are casted when it comes to things of that nature, because that's definitely a huge trigger for me, knowing that you would allow someone to come back on your show to compete after they've been racist towards the cast member. Thank you guys so much for your time. MTV, you have my number, you have my email. I'm more than open to have a conversation with you on how we can make change happen. And the ball is in your court. All eyes are on you.